Hello and welcome to the Not the Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks. Today's video focusing on Livingston's preparations ahead of their opening weekend match in the Scottish Premiership for season 2021-2022. An easy task away to Rangers, I'm sure it will be. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a like on the video is much appreciated. Last season we did these as a general Premiership roundup of the weekend's action, preview of the weekend's action, but this season we're going to change it up a wee bit, and throughout the different weeks and months as we go on throughout the season, we're going to look at specific clubs and their specific matches instead, and we'll rotate them as best we can with the access we have at the clubs. This week we're focusing on Livingston and their trip to Rangers, a tough test for Davy Martindale's side, looking to build on what can only be described as a successful 2020-21 Premiership season. They obviously lost Gary Holt as manager early in the campaign, but Davy Martindale came in, an amazing unbeaten run, and that just about did enough for them to get into the top six. As well as that, they were also very impressive in the League Cup, reaching the final of that before losing to St Johnstone. Building on that will be key for the club ahead of the new campaign. It's been a total overhaul of the squad. There's 10 new players in as I record this video. Will it be done transfer-wise? You'll find out later in this video. But the aim is always the same at Livingston, as it is for most provincial clubs, and that is staying in the Scottish Premiership. Davy Martindale, speaking ahead of the trip to Rangers, knows it's a tough start to the season, but he also knows that at the end of the day, the aim is to keep Livingston in the Premiership come May.
What are the main challenges for you this season?
Staying in the league, staying in the Scottish Premier League. It's going to be a tough league this year. There's a couple of teams went out of the league obviously, but there's two very, very strong teams came in the league with big budgets. So it's going to make my job even more difficult this season. But I think Rangers last year dominated Scottish football. I thought they were fantastic, I really do. I think this year they'll kick on again. Stephen will let them be complacent, so our job will be extremely difficult. But we've got to go in there in the belief that we can take something for the game, and every time we've went to Ibrox, that's been the attitude. It's not going to be any different this time round. You sit there and you debate it. Is it better to get them the first game, the sixth game, the ninth game, the 11th game? So I'll take it as it comes. We've got the top four. I think we're the only club that's playing last year's top four in the first 6 league games. So I've got an incredibly hard start. But again, that's why we're in football. These are the games we live for.
We might be moving back into some sort of normality as this season goes on. Fans are starting to attend games now, which has been great to see. The Rangers v Livingston match tomorrow, as I record this on the Friday, there will be around 23,000 roughly fans-wise in the stadium. Livingston won't have any support in the ground. It will be purely home fans, but it will be added atmosphere to the ground, which has been much needed after a year of pretty soulless games, it has to be said, in stadiums. Teams playing in front of club officials and media pretty much for the past year. So it's been really nice to see fans returning to grounds, and this will be the biggest crowd Livingston have played in for quite some time. But despite the fact that we are getting back to normal, Livingston have been hit hard with COVID issues over the course of the early season preparations. Coaches, players at the club are all contracting the virus, and it's not just a case of 10 days of self-isolation then back into training. It sounds as if some of the players have got it pretty bad, or at least they've not exactly been asymptomatic with it. Probably a better way to put that. But Davy Martindale does say that it has had an impact on it. They are turning a corner with it, and already we're starting to see that clubs are having to forfeit games in the Premier Sports Cup. The likes of Ross County's campaign was completely tarred by that. They had to forfeit 2 games that essentially eliminated them from the League Cup this season. Falkirk are being forced to play again in their opening League One match this weekend, despite the fact they are still recovering from a COVID outbreak. Players are only going to be available to actually leave the house, I think, by Friday night. Well, I think when it hits about midnight tonight, or they will be just coming out of self-isolation as we speak, and they will still be forced to play against Cove Rangers, despite the fact they've not really been out of the house for 10 days, some longer than that. Last season we've seen the impacts that could have, Kilmarnock and having to forfeit games, and then it went to a tribunal and was reverted, then the games were replayed. Want to avoid all that sort of scenario this season. Davy Martindale believing if there are COVID postponements, they should be replayed at a later date, and hopefully a quick solution can be found to that.
I think we have a couple of wee niggles, to be honest, but I think most people are back. There's still a few got to catch up to speed. Like, COVID's actually although they're allowed back in the building, they're not quite right, and I think a lot of clubs are going to find that out themselves. It's actually hitting the boys quite hard. If you've had the double vaccination, it's not too bad, but the boys that have not been vaccinated, that have got COVID, it's more than 10 days, 100% more than 10 days. So there's a couple of boys we need to keep our eye on. We've got a duty of care to them. We need to look after them. There's a couple of wee niggles, but we're not far away. But I think we've got to postpone the games. What did we do this time last year? This time last year we postponed the games, didn't we? Although they got replayed, did we? Went to a tribunal or something like that. But it got a replay. So in the league, I don't think you can ask opponents to drop 3 points. I don't think you can do that. And I think if you ask any team in the league, they'll all be the same opinion. Obviously, there'll be fine lines and players are injured, and potentially you could be using COVID as an excuse. But I think there must be a way where we can submit doctors' lines with COVID, or if there's track and trace, you can provide track and trace details and COVID positive details. I think the game's got to get replayed, 100% it's got to get replayed. This is going to affect football far more than what it did last season. Society's opened up now, we're back to some sense of normality, and I can see it. I've now 75% of my squad, including coaches, have had COVID. And it's difficult, it's going to be really difficult. So I think we've got to postpone the games, and we've all got to be realistic, and we've got to find a way to work around it.
On the transfer front at Livingston, it has been busy, as we've already said. They have made a few notable captures. Bruce Anderson, one I quite like from Aberdeen, played really well for Hamilton the second half of last season, and now has been given the chance to remain at Premiership level. Perhaps the most notable thing about a lot of Livingston's business is that some of it has been with 3-year deals, or it's been 1-2 year deals with the option of extension. So long-term planning at Livingston. So it's not this situation next summer where they're having to completely overhaul a squad. Perhaps some will go. There is obviously in Scottish football, I think most players have a price, but as it stands, they have got a squad that can perhaps build a bit of momentum over the course of a couple of seasons. For now, as it stands, Livingston's business is likely over. They have made notable changes. The Livingston fans have not been short on looking out for transfer activity, but it could change. There could be a couple of players leaving the club, which would mean a couple of players would have to come in. The reason for all this and carrying a bigger squad, is that word again, COVID-19 means that Livingston manager Martindale believes that carrying a bigger squad this season will be paramount.
At this point in time, no, but I dare say there might be one or two chatting my door when they're maybe not in the squads going forward. I've had to carry a bigger squad this season. Again, we didn't know if we were going to be 18 squads or 20 in the squad, so you're looking at it potentially being 20, then you're throwing in injuries, suspensions and COVID, so I'm carrying a squad of 24 this year. So with everybody fit and available to play, you're potentially only travelling with 20 players, so it's going to be really difficult, and until the window shuts and the boys are happy with that. So I'd imagine there's going to potentially be one or two that may chat my door, but they can only leave this football club if I can find a replacement, because I do believe having a bigger squad this year is paramount.
How hard are you to sort of work to get to this point? You're probably one of the only clubs who have a completed squad sort of going into the first game of the season.
We've done a lot of our work, like we had a few earmarked going into the January window, to be honest, so I do my work throughout the season. You start probably looking at around November time, but you've got a good idea come the end of August of what it is you think you might need to freshen up or you might need to strengthen. So the recruitment side, it's a continual process, and again your phone will ring, you'll get an email and there'll be a player that maybe becomes available unexpectedly. So the door's always open, but that process it's never ending really.
So yeah, tough task for Livingston at the weekend. One player who will be viewed upon as a key player for them this season is Jack Fitzwater. Despite only being 23, he's probably one of the senior players in that dressing room now, given the overhaul in playing staff at the club. John Guthrie at centre-back left in the summer for Northampton Town for family reasons, going back down south, and that's a big blow for the club. He has been so good over the last couple of seasons. So it's up to Jack Fitzwater to sort of step up alongside Tom Parks as well, who I think could be a shrewd signing from the English Football League as well to fill that gap. Not only that, of course, I've got Nicky Devlin at right back as well, who has been one of the best fullbacks, really, I suppose, in that area of the park in Scotland since his arrival from Walsall. So it won't make the weekend's task any easier, but Livingston certainly do have a decent enough squad that they should do more than enough to achieve Martindale's aims of finishing 10th at the very least But I think deep down, given how well Livingston have performed since coming back into the top flight, perhaps be looking a wee bit higher internally, if not externally. But looking ahead to the weekend's match, Jack Fitzwater is looking forward to that more senior challenge he will face at the club as he previews the Rangers tie on Saturday.
For me personally, I want to play a big role in the team, as many games as possible, and keep my like if I get the shirt, I've got to keep it, and hopefully keep more clean sheets and we concede less goals than we did last season, because I know that's an area we can improve on. And we've just got to keep doing putting the hard work in training and implementing what the gaffer wants on a match day, and but we've got to go out onto the pitch and perform. It looks like a real tough season. A lot of tough teams in the league this season, so we've all got to go out there and hopefully get 3 points when we go out on there on a Saturday or a Tuesday.
I feel a bit weird being one of the longest serving players probably in that dressing.
Yeah, I was speaking about it to a couple of lads. I'm 23 and I'm supposed to be like, in any other dressing room I'm a youngster, but I've got to kind of like step up this season and be a bit of more of a leader and be more of the experienced one. So yeah, that's a role that I want to try and take up.
And you've seen some of the guys that perhaps came into the squad this summer in the position you were last year, where perhaps a bit inexperienced Scottish football taking by surprise.
Yeah, last season for me getting in, I didn't realise it was a lot different to English football. So I think some of the boys coming up from England found that out, and you get to grips with it quite quickly. So any tips that I can give them, then I will do, and hopefully we can both learn off each other.
So we hope you have enjoyed. Do let us know if you prefer this format, if you will, of the preview for the weekend, instead of doing 5 or 6 games, just focusing and giving a bit more specific on one club rather than 10. So we hope you have enjoyed. Do remember to subscribe, as I already have mentioned. It does give us a big help as well with what we want to do on the channel. And yeah, enjoy your games this weekend. If you're going to games, do enjoy them as well. It has been a long time coming. Having been fortunate enough to be at games over the last sort of 12 months or so, they have been pretty bad atmosphere-wise without fans. So it's going to be great to hear a bit of noise and stuff at stadiums across Scotland this weekend. But enjoy your games, and until next time, take it easy.